Hey everybody! I wanted to just take a second to say hi and welcome to the virtual fitness class here that we're going to do. We're going to talk about pivoting our fitness businesses online, and whether or not you're a personal trainer or a group fitness instructor, some of the best ways to do that, how to go about it, and lessons that I've learned over this last year on how to do that. You might wonder who I am and why I am doing this. My name is Stacy Mann, and my business is Coach Stacy. And I'm a personal trainer as well as a cancer exercise specialist. I hold multiple certifications in nutrition as well as exercise. I'm a mom to 2 teenage boys, one of whom is a cancer survivor. He is my reason why I got started in doing all of this, in being a personal trainer, in being a health coach, and in just helping people live their best life. I pivoted my business online about a year ago, right as COVID was starting. I had a few clients already joining me in the online space, so it became a thing that I was able to do fairly easily, and I learned a lot of lessons along the way that I would like to share with you today. If at any time you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and we will get started. You know, it was interesting when we first started this Zoom thing. A lot of clients were unsure about it. They hadn't taken any classes online. They hadn't done any YouTube things. Some of them had, but some of them didn't like it because it wasn't tailored to them. And that's where we can come in. So today, I would like to talk to you about how to go virtual if you're not already doing it, how to have fun with it and enjoy it, make it creative for your clients, what exercises might work best online and which ones don't, and then whatever else we need to get into today to help you open your business up. So why would you want to go virtual? Obviously, the first point is it's a safe way to continue to exercise with clients during COVID. And anything else, flu season, cold season, maybe you have clients with severe allergies and they'd rather be online than in an outdoor class. It's a safe way to do it. It's convenient for the participants. They can work out in their living room, they can work out in their basement. They don't have to worry about packing their workout clothes to go to the gym, or whether or not they forgot something so that they could shower at the gym before work. It's a good way to improve the mental health of those that may feel isolated. So let's say you have some older clients, senior citizens who are not able to join the gym right now because they're not vaccinated yet, or they're afraid to do so. They may be alone, maybe they live alone, maybe they live with just one other person and they want some other interaction. It's a good way for anyone's mental health to have that interaction, to know that every day or every other day they're going to see their trainer, or once a week they're going to see their trainer, or they're going to join a group class where there's others on the screen. It gives us as fitness instructors and personal trainers opportunity to get creative with exercises. Maybe you were training in a gym and you got stuck in a rut of using the cable machine always, or always the stability ball, or always the free weights. This gives us an opportunity to break out of the box and use some creative equipment, use some new exercises, some things that allow movement throughout but don't necessarily rely on any gym equipment. You have the opportunity now to teach people all over the country or all over the world. Recently in some of my classes, I've had people join in from Canada, from other states across the United States. I'm in Virginia, so it's great. It's a great way to bring people in from all over and bring fitness to those that would not be able to normally join your classes or join your trainings. Not everyone is a gym goer, so this is an opportunity to get them working out at home, get them moving, get them staying happy and healthy and fit, regardless of whether or not they want to step foot in a gym. Some people just aren't that type of person. You get an opportunity to know your classes better. Think about it. You're seeing their home environment on that screen. You might be able to comment on something, a picture that's in the background or a way that they've decorated or whatever, and then a story comes out of that. This came from where I am from, or this object is from here, and you get to learn about your clients a little bit more. As more gyms are closing, unfortunately, because of lack of membership after COVID and during what we're still dealing with the various hesitancy on vaccine and COVID variants that are out there, more gyms are closing. So this gives you an opportunity to teach more. This quote here from Idea World, that in 2019, the global online virtual fitness market was about $6 million. According to Allied Market Research, the value is expected to jump to 60 million by 2027. That's not that far away. Zoom. You're all using it now. We know it well. Maybe you knew it before. Maybe you have a job that was using it. But now, as fitness instructors and personal trainers, we are using it a lot. There's a lot of benefits to Zoom that you can see here. I mean, it's easy to use. It's free to your participants at minimal cost to you. It's slightly improving with music and audio. In the beginning last year, when all of this started, we didn't really have the ability for music that well. There was a huge delay. Maybe it was staticky, maybe it wasn't. Zoom has improved that a lot. It's easier to connect from anywhere. You can take your training sessions to YouTube Live or Facebook Live. This is also, again, allowing for that social interaction and easy to schedule those meetings. There are some downsides to Zoom. If you're connecting from your desktop or laptop, you can only see about 25 participants. So sometimes you have to walk up to your screen and click through to see the other page of people if you have a large class. You're only going to see about 8 or 10 people depending on which device you're connecting from. If you're using a mobile device like a tablet or iPad or a phone, definitely less people. And depending on which device they're using, your participants are using, your class, your training client, you might be really small to them. You're going to be on this tiny little screen. The music and audio is still slightly delayed, but only by a few seconds. And sometimes it can be hard to see if your participants are performing the moves correctly. Because as the more participants you get in your classes, or in your small group sessions, they're smaller on that screen. Those boxes shrink. And sometimes it can be difficult to tell whether or not they're performing things correctly. But either way, we want to get that party started. We want to get that motivation going for your clients, for your class members, to get them up and moving. You want them to keep coming back. So make sure that your space that you're teaching in is bright. You have a lot of light going on. You want to make sure that there aren't any strange shadows so that it doesn't look like you're making one move, but you are. There's a different, maybe it looks like you have a third leg sometimes with a strange shadow. If your space is not very colorful, add a few things. Walk around your house. Look at something that might be colorful. Put it in the background. Something that's not too distracting. String lights are a really good idea sometimes. What you're wearing makes a difference. We have a tendency as trainers and instructors to wear all black. But that's hard to see the different body parts moving on video. So lighter bottom and darker top, or a lighter top and darker bottoms usually allow your participants to see all of your body parts moving. So how your hips are positioned, how your shoulders are positioned, how your knees are positioned. It's all important for them to do the workout properly. We want to make sure that we're choosing workouts and exercises that are fun and motivating. Sometimes video, especially if someone's been on Zoom all day long, they tend to get a little bit bored with the same repetitive motion. So if you're doing repetitive workouts, say you're doing sets of 12, mix it up, run down the list, and then go back and repeat, or repeat in a different way. And make sure that you can verbally cue those exercises in the correct way and in a short period of time. You want them to get moving. So you don't want to take a lot of words to say what it is you want them to do. Checking your class. Does it flow? Does your plan flow? Even if it's a personal training client and not a class, are they going to be engaged that whole time? Are they going to understand what you're doing? Do you need to have a timer set up for those exercises or a clock nearby that you can easily see? Maybe you don't know what they have at home, but that's okay. A bath towel works awesome. Paper plates, and we'll get into a little bit more about how to be creative with that type of household item later in this webinar. But just think about how can you use what people have at home. We want to make sure that we're checking our Zoom settings. Check those audio settings under that microphone icon in the Zoom room. What's your audio look like there? Is your microphone set to automatically go down if there's a dog barking or some sort of background noise? If it is, when you walk away from your computer or you get down on the floor, your participants are not going to be able to hear you. Make sure that box is unchecked. Look and see, do you have music, high fidelity music checked? Because if you're using music, if it's an integral part of your class, you're going to want to make sure that that's checked. Run a few tests. If you haven't done Zoom before, you haven't worked out on Zoom, call a friend, call some neighbors. Say, can you get on this Zoom with me and see if you can hear me, if you can see me? Check everything out before that first training or that first class. Choose your music that'll be appropriate for the class and it's upbeat and fun. If you're coordinating things to that music, make sure that you remember that it could be a few seconds delayed on the other side. And then royalty fees, obviously, is something that we all are aware of. You're going to want to make sure that your music is royalty free, especially if you're posting it to social media, to YouTube, or if you're going to be sharing your recordings anywhere. The music that you heard in the beginning of this webinar is from Muscle Mix Music, and it is approved for video use. So that's another thing to check, is if your subscription, if you have a royalty-free subscription to Yes Music or Muscle Mix, to make sure the music that you have bought from them or that you are borrowing from them works for video as well. We want to make sure that our participants are safe and that we're doing exercises that are appropriate for them. No matter what type of clientele you're dealing with, if you're dealing with people who are on their cancer journey, have completed their cancer journey, or are just starting it, whether you have people that have orthopedic issues, or someone who is being released from physical therapy, or maybe you have someone that is seemingly healthy, but you find out a little bit more the more you work with them. It is sometimes difficult to schedule that online consultation and do a virtual movement or postural assessment before a class or training session. Not every class is going to have that opportunity. You'll have more of that opportunity as a personal trainer. You can schedule that with your client, or you can take the first 10 or 15 minutes of your first session with them to do movement assessments. But if you don't have that opportunity for them, it can be a difficult task to try to design a safe and effective class, particularly if you're going to be teaching multiple people with possibly multiple different issues. So these are some questions you can ask yourself. If you don't have the opportunity to assess your participants ahead of time, what type of class are you teaching? Think about your expertise. What do you know well? What will help translate over video? Who usually participates in this class? Did you pick up a class from another instructor? Can that other instructor tell you who usually participates? Maybe you started a new class with a local gym or community center. Who usually attends those classes? Think about potential modifications for exercises for someone who may not have core strength or may have knee issues, maybe low back issues. Or maybe it's an extremely active group of people and you can go hardcore on that class. Watch as your participants enter the Zoom room. It's similar to when you're teaching in person, when you're watching them come into the gym or they're coming into the classroom. How are they standing? Maybe they're seated when they join the Zoom. Maybe you notice that they're wearing a brace or a compression sleeve. Maybe they are rounding in their shoulders. Maybe you notice that they get up out of the chair and they have a little difficulty doing that, Maybe you need to have a chair available for modifications. Maybe you need to show modification for a squat or talk about how to safely do a squat or a lunge in their range of motion. With Zoom, you have to be thinking on your feet. And so I always, if it's a very first class and I'm unsure of who's going to be joining, I make the class plan a little easier than I think it needs to be. As we're going through the class, if I see that people are a little bored or maybe they don't feel challenged, maybe they don't look like they're working hard enough, I modify the exercises to ramp it up a little bit. Maybe I made it easy for what I thought it was easy, but the participants don't find it easy. I can modify it down a step. So what makes a great class and a training? You see Richard Simmons here. Some of you may know him, remember him. He had a way of being positive and energetic the whole time. He got people from all walks of life up and moving with the television screen. Through the TV, he motivated people in their living rooms. You have that opportunity to do that now via Zoom, and unlike Richard Simmons, you have the ability to know who you are talking to. You get to learn about your class, learn about your client, and motivate them even more. Tap into your positivity, tap into your energy, tap into their energy. Maybe they're not feeling that workout today. Tell them a little joke, get them to smile, do something, do a silly movement, mess up a little bit, and let them laugh with you. If your technology isn't working, maybe your music stopped mid-class or your Zoom freezes. Talk them through it. I'm so sorry that music isn't working, but we can bring our own energy. Ask them if they want to sing. Ask them if they want to play music at their house. You know, sometimes we hit those bumps in the road and we just have to roll with it. Make sure your exercises are presented in a clear and easy to understand fashion. Slow down a little bit, speed up a little bit. Go with the flow of the person or people on the other side of the screen. And as long as you are speaking clearly and you are easy to understand, they're going to have a good class. Make sure that you're providing modifications without saying, oh, Hey, Sue, I see that you need this modification. Let me stop the class and show this to you. Let those modifications flow with the exercises. If you're doing an upright row with weights and you know that there are certain people in your class who aren't able to use weights yet, or you have a suspicion that they're not using weights, show them how to do it without weights, without even missing a beat. Talk about how the exercise can be done together as a class without singling out one particular person. Create a community. Ask your participants, are they okay with a group email? Email them little tips and tricks. Maybe make small videos with modifications, 5 minutes, 3-minute videos. Send it to the class. Say, hey, I thought you all might want to take a look at this modification. Here's how you can do a push-up on a chair. Here's how you can do one on a wall. Find a good modification video that you like. Send it to them. Encourage the participants to talk to each other and hold each other accountable, showing up for class. If you're recording the class, let them do the class again together. Give them an opportunity to decide if they want you to share their email or if you just want to create a community, even if you have to blind copy them all. Make it interactive and fun. Do a little dance, be a little silly, have some fun music. Even if you don't have a great voice, sing along to a couple of the lyrics in the song. Just whatever you do, have fun with your class. It'll make your participants continue to want to come back online and, most importantly, continue to want to move. Keep everything positive. I can't emphasize that enough. It's so boring to log on when the instructor really isn't into it, when they don't have a way about them or a smile about them, and you all have that. I know you do. You have these clients that keep coming back to you, and they come back to you because you're knowledgeable, you share things with them, you know what to do. Maybe they're getting results with you and they keep coming back, but they're coming back for you. So remember that and be the best that you can be when you log on to that Zoom. Always avoiding negative language. So if you're down on the floor and you want their back to be flat against the floor, instead of saying, don't raise your back, think of a creative way to say it. Let's keep those backs glued to the floor. Anything that we can do to avoid negative language and keep it all upbeat, keep everyone happy, keep the mood and energy flowing is a good thing. I know that a lot of people hate it when everyone says, smile, it'll make it better. But it really does in exercise. So try to put on your best smile, put on your best face. No matter what's happening in your own personal life, be there for that person and be ready to receive their feedback. Ask for feedback. It's how you're going to be able to design a better class for your participants. If you're ready to receive negative feedback even, I hated that exercise. Please don't show me that again. Can we do something different? The class wasn't fast enough for me. The class wasn't slow enough for me. There weren't enough rest periods. Whatever it is, be prepared to receive that feedback and say, you know what? They're right. I'm going to pivot that exercise. I'm going to make it different next time. I'm going to change things just slightly. Maybe you had a 15-second rest built in, but you were receiving complaints. There weren't enough rest time. Add in 18 seconds. Those 3 seconds can make a huge difference. Find ways to interact with the class, like coming up to the screen and giving those high fives. It's important. They feel then that they're in the classroom with you. I love to throw a little kickboxing into my classes. There's something cathartic about punching the air. So even if they don't have a speed bag at home, we'll get up there and bring those fists into the camera. They love it. They get to travel forward to their camera adding more movement, and they get to just punch at the camera, and everyone starts smiling and relaxing and having a good time. Your music can mean a lot to the class. If you know your audience and you know the people that are coming, choose tunes that are upbeat and happy and have the right rhythm for what you're doing. Some of you are Zumba instructors, so you know your music and you know it well. Some of you are yoga instructors and you maybe don't have anything playing in the background, or maybe you have softer music playing in the background, but you know your class, you know your audience. Sometimes a weighted workout requires a little bit more energy to get them through it. Or a Tabata workout might be fast-paced, so the music is fast-paced. Whatever it is, make sure it's helping provide that energy. Maybe it's all your favorite songs so that it provides energy for you. You might also find on that note that you have a client or two that doesn't want any music, especially if it's a personal training client. They may want to just focus on you, focus on the moves, and not have anything going in the background. That's all okay. That all works. That's where your energy has to become a little bit more, a little bit extra. When you're deciding on your exercises and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, obviously you want to pick what you know well. What's your current experience? Are you a Zumba instructor? Are you a yoga instructor? Are you a boot camp person? Are you someone who just enjoys doing cardio? Are you a personal trainer who likes to use body weight resistance or free weights? What works well for you? What do you know well? Start there and start developing class plans that will work for your client, that you know how to cue, that you know what to do, and also get the results that your client's looking for. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet with your client, like it says here in this slide, try to figure out, maybe from conversation or from the person that referred that client to you, or maybe from the first 5 or 10 minutes of just having them do simple movements. Have an idea of what you're going to do with them. Some simple lunges. Can they squat? Can they get up and down out of the chair? I like to use a whiteboard. That's a picture there of mine, of what I want to accomplish for that day. This picture happens to be from a class, so it's very timed out, but it has those modifications written next to it in red. And if I notice that people are having difficulty with one exercise, I have a bank in my head that I'm ready to move to. So what exercises don't work well, or what doesn't work well? You don't know what kind of space people have. Don't have them running, 5 or 6 steps, or marching farther than a few steps in front and a few steps in back. Most people don't have the space for more than 2 or 3 steps to the front or to the side, or maybe they just have the length of their body to work in. So exercises that need a ton of space, a lot of twisting, a lot of moving, are not the best for Zoom. Exercises that are difficult for you to see if the client or the class is performing them correctly. So for instance, if you are someone that likes to do V-sits and you're having them a client do V-sit with a weight, if you haven't performed that exercise with them in person, you may not want to have them do it on Zoom. It's very difficult to see how the spine's aligned, whether or not they are protecting themselves as they do it. A pelvic tilt is another example. Very difficult for the client to see how you're doing that, how you're performing that, and very difficult for you to see how if they're doing it correctly. It doesn't mean that you can't do those things. It just means you have to cue them really well. Exercises that require specific equipment. Again, if you don't know what equipment they have, how will you do that? So you want to think about things that might only use household items, might only use body weight. If you know that they have resistance bands or kettlebells or dumbbells at home and you happen to know the weight for them, you're all good to go. Any moves that require a ton of explanation. You don't want to spend a lot of time explaining how to do the move. You want to get their workout in. But keep it a little simple. So what works well? Simple 1 or 2 movements. You could do 3 or 4 if they're in that same plane of motion. Maybe one is to the rear and one is to the side. Easily timed. Are you able to see a clock? Are you able to know this exercise is going to last for 30 seconds? It's going to last for 40 seconds. And why is it going to last that long? And you want to have those modifications built into the exercise, as we talked about before. So understanding whether or not you can do exercises with or without weights. Maybe someone in your class is using resistance bands and other people are using weights. How can you show exercises that work for resistance bands, no weights, and weights, but are all looking to be the same exercise? How about chair modifications? Think about your core work and when you're getting people down to the floor. There are a lot of people, whether or not they've gone through recent cancer treatments where they don't have the ability to use their core, or perhaps they have back issues and it is hard for them to lie down on the floor. Talk about using a sturdy chair, a dining room chair, a folding chair. Or think about other ways, standing core work, or breaking those exercises down into simple parts that can be understood and then building upon that. Everything should require minimal equipment. It was really hard in the beginning of COVID for clients to go out and buy dumbbells. They just were not available, or maybe to buy a kettlebell. They just were not around. It's only been recently that they've started to come back into stores. So it's probably not a good idea to expect that they will have weights, but figure out what they can use around the house. Some cans of food, water bottles, things like that. The cueing is so important. Cross your leg over the other leg. Might have worked in person, but it's not going to work online. We definitely want to be as specific as possible for the safety of your participant and to ensure that they're doing the exercise properly to see results. As we said, are they coming to you to get those results? They're coming to you for your knowledge and what you have going on. So it might make sense to you to say engage your core, but not everybody knows what that means. Drawing that navel into the spine is a great way to do it. Tilting the hips forward slightly, another way to talk about it. Keeping the spine up nice and tall, drawing a line out of the top of the head, another way to talk about engaging the core. Some of these things are basic, you know them, they're simple, but putting them into practice and learning to talk in specifics, especially when you're cueing about weights or bands, which direction are the palms facing? In person, they could see that really easily. When you're a 2x2 square on their phone, they're not going to see that as easily. So it's important to reiterate how those exercises are done. We've hinted a little bit here about equipment and what you can use if there is no equipment available. Cans of food, a simple regular size can of food is a pound. A lot of times, particularly if you are coaching people who have gone through cancer treatments, or have other orthopedic issues, maybe they have shoulder issues, they're not going to be lifting more than 1 or 2 pounds to start out with when you first begin working with them. So a can of food or a bottle of water. 16-ounce bottle of water. Makes a great bit of resistance, makes the client feel as though they're doing a little bit more than just squeezing their fist and using their body weight resistance. And it helps them learn to lift more eventually. The great thing about the cans of food is you can start duct taping 1 or 2, 3, 4 together, and now you have 4-pound weights if you've got 4 duct taped all the way together. A gallon water jug or milk jug filled up with water is 8 pounds. You just, if it's a used one, you just duct tape that top together so that it doesn't leak. And you've got an 8-pound weight there that can work, especially with the handle, for biceps, for overhead presses, shoulder presses, any of those things, it works well. A heavy book can also be used as a heavier weight for people. You can stack some books into a laundry basket. Paper plates, we all know the gliding discs. They're fantastic exercise. Really can improve range of motion in the shoulders and the hips. Paper plates is how that gliding disc got started, and it's definitely something that a lot of people have at home. If they don't, they're easily acquired. A playground ball is another great way to use something to put in between the legs to talk about squatting properly, or maybe in glute bridges to keep that proper space. You can use a playground ball to hold on to something for different types of exercises. And of course, a bath towel. A bath towel simply held out in front for a long period of time can provide that isometric feel for the shoulders. We can use that if you're pulling apart on that bath towel, you're going to get some bicep work in there, some tricep work. You can use it in different ways, and everybody has one. So finishing up just a little early today, since we didn't have anybody on with questions or anything that I can answer, I want you to know that you have the power to bring exercise and movement to people, the power to help them change their health and mental outlook. You have the ability to bring exercise right to their living room, right to their kitchen, or wherever they're choosing to work out. You have that way about you. You wouldn't be a personal trainer or a fitness instructor if you didn't. And Zoom has now made it possible, and other things like Google Hangouts and that sort of thing have made it possible for us to bring exercise to more people. Remembering to cue exercises correctly, to think about your audience, think about your classes, think about your training client. How do they move when you were in person with them? How do they move if you were able to do a movement assessment on them, whether it was virtual or in person? What issues do they have? What do you need to think about as you're planning the class? And how can you still ensure that you're going to get them those results? I really enjoyed doing this webinar for all of you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or check on my website. I have been mentoring a few other trainers throughout this to help them get their virtual fitness business up online. This was just some quick tips and things to think about. So if you would like some more information, or if you are interested in doing a session with me, please let me know. I really enjoyed being here, and I hope to hear from you soon.